podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Wynn. Welcome to another How We're the podcast. And after weeks of hydration breaks, cringy renditions of Wonderwall, and England doing very English things in the semi-final of the greatest show on earth, apparently, we are back to the proper stuff. Yep, we can truly say it's match day once again as the lads are back in action as we travel down the A19 to take on York City at the LNER Community Stadium, or Bootham Crescent if you prefer it in old money. But we've got that pre-season smell of freshly cut grass and trips to beer gardens to discuss, as well as anything else. We usually crowbar into any conversation we have about Sunderland on How We're the podcast. And for that reason, I'm very lucky to be joined by a couple of gentlemen who could quite happily talk all day long about the lads. And first up, we have Gavin Henderson. Hello, Gav.
Hello, mate. I don't think it is quite Bootham Crescent. I think it's a new ground, isn't it?
Is it? Ah, well.
Yeah, there you go. That's the extent of our match preview research, guys. Even in the intro, we can't get the ground right. I would rather be going to Bootham Crescent because, look, I mean, we're going to get into it, but this place is frigging miles away from all the pubs. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm up for a gathering at Bootham Crescent today if everyone fancies it.
Well, there you go. That's why we got you on, Gav. But it's good. It's good to be talking about the lads being in action again, isn't it?
Oh, that's it. I stuck something on our Twitter yesterday saying that something along those lines, saying like, it's just nice in it to get back into it. Everybody knows this is a glorified training session, right? We're all on the same page with that. The result doesn't matter. It's just a kickabout, basically, to get some minutes in the legs of the players. But I don't care. I'm treating it like a proper game. I'm going. It's a day out. York's going to be full of Mackhams. Like, it feels like everyone I talk to, apart from you, Chris, are going.
Aye.
And, it just feels like a proper match day, even though it isn't. So we are treating it sort of like a proper match day, I think.
Aye, on dad duty. How many times are we going to have that conversation today? But anyway, also joining us, we have Andrew Smithson. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Mara. I've been given the day off dad duties for once. I think my kids are sick of me. So at least, Chris, take it as a compliment that they want to spend time with you,
Yeah. Well, even Martin was on about coming over from Australia next April. And I says, well, I'll put the permission slip in now, see if I get it. But it's, it's still 50-50 whether I actually get that weekend. But yeah, I mean, look, Andrew, we've still got hot topic of transfers and things like that to talk about. But it's just nice to be talking about a game. And when I mean a game, we've had the World Cup, but I mean a proper game with the lads in it.
Oh, yeah, the World Cup is just kind of like a distraction compared to Sunderland for me. I hate weekends without Sunderland games. It just like the whole weekend feels like there's no focus to it. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm really fortunate in that I'm traveling with my best mate and another friend of ours is coming across beforehand. So this is what football's about, getting to see your pals. The three of us have not been together in a while, so I'm excited. And I know what Gav says. It is just a glorified training exercise, but I'm trying not to sound too excited, Chris, for your benefit, but there's worse things to do with your time than just sitting there in the sun watching the lads with your mates.
Yeah. I don't hope there's a severe yachting accident in York, on Saturday. That spoils everyone's day and everything like that. But anyway, I was going to say, if anyone's doing pre-season bingo out there, we've already had result doesn't matter. We've already had fitness. We've already had glorified training session. So someone's nearly on for a line or a full house at the moment. But look, let's get the conversation out of the way about the World Cup semi-final, Gav, because I don't think we've had a chance to really bring it up on How We're the podcast yet. England went out against Argentina. I said to you after the game, and it wasn't a barbed comment about Newcastle or anything like that. But as soon as I saw Dan Burn on the sidelines, I was like, we've stuffed this.
Aye, or as me neighbour a couple of doors upset was yesterday. As soon as that Sam Burns came on, I thought it was game hour. I said, I know exactly what you mean, mate. It's just, it doesn't hurt as much as Sunderland. And I know I'll probably cop a bit of flack for that. But I put some, it was fair, it was tongue in cheek, but I put something on our Twitter page saying I'd rather win the coin toss before the game against
I love
York
that.
than win that anyways. And I was kind of joking, but like there were people straight away like, "Ah, what do you mean, man? Shut up, man!" And I'm like, I genuinely couldn't give a shit. Like I was into the game, and I was getting annoyed watching it, but not in the way I do when I watch Sunderland. Like as soon as Argentina scored the second goal, I was on my phone and I was like, just not really bothered. And then our lass is sat next to us who never watches football in tears, and I'm like, really? Like, I wish you got this passionate about watching Sunderland when I'm sitting with it on the telly. But genuinely, it wasn't a massive surprise to see the end result. I didn't think we would win, and I think Thomas Tuchel absolutely shit the bed with his tactics, and I think it's been said repeatedly everywhere you look and listen. People are saying the same things, but he did. Far too early in the game to go to 5 at the back, far too negative. Took all of the direct players off and didn't replace them with direct players. So it just invited Argentina onto England, and they got what they deserved in the end. If anything, it should have been probably 3 or 4 goals because the post and Pickford saved England from it getting a bit more embarrassing, to be honest. But I mean, talk about Newcastle players, and bless him, Dan Burn. He's actually done a relatively decent job in this tournament when he's been asked to do something. But then he was up front, and I'm like, is that the best we can do? Put Dan Burn up front to win flick-ons? And Gordon was terrible, even though he scored a goal. I was dying for him to get off the pitch because he was shocking. But yeah, they didn't deserve to win. Argentina wanted it more. As much as I cannot stand Argentina and the way they act on, and the amount of shithousery that they do, they bloody know how to win games, and they've shown it right through the World Cup. And for me, the best 2 teams are in the final. I know that's a silly thing to say, but they genuinely are. Because before the semi-finals, I was in the pub watching it, the Spain-France game, and I was saying this should be the final. But actually, with the benefit of hindsight, having seen the 2 semis, Argentina totally deserve to be in the final, and there can be no real complaints other than, I think, Thomas Tuchel probably made the wrong choices and is the reason why England aren't in a final, because we had the game. We had them right there. They were in the palm of our hands. 2 centre-halves on yellow cards. All we had to do was keep running at them, put them on the back foot. They weren't going to overcommit because of that. And instead, we took everybody with any sort of direct running in them off the pitch and sat back and got exactly what we deserved. And yeah, I was over it within minutes, and I was actually just looking forward to going to York. And like, it's mad to saying it. England got knocked out of a World Cup semi-final, and I was thinking, I can't wait for York in pre-season on Saturday. Shows how bothered I am.
Can't wait for that coin toss. Coin toss, even.
Coin toss, yeah.
I know.
Yes. Keep that in.
We were talking about doing clips of the week, weren't we? I've just thrown that in on
Can't
purpose.
wait for that coin toss. I love a bit of that.
Don't tell me.
Mates. Oh, me and my mates love it when people mix up the first letters of words.
I was going to say, don't tell me you're not going to say that after a few pints on Saturday. But yeah, I mean, getting back to that game, regardless of who he plays for, if Dan Burn is the solution to a problem, then you've got a massive problem on your hands, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, Andrew, look, in terms of how we feel about it, I have to admit, after the game, I kind of just shrugged my shoulders and was like, "Yeah, right, okay, bedtime now. It's quite late. I'll get myself to sleep for tomorrow now." If that was Sunderland getting beaten in a semi-final, I wouldn't talk to anybody for a week. I'd probably hide away, and I wouldn't be able to speak. I'd be, I can't even imagine, to be honest, especially, in a game like that, it would go out in the 93rd minute or something like that. But yeah, a bit of a shrug of the shoulders. I have to admit as well, maybe a tiny bit of me was slightly relieved that we didn't get another rendition of Wonderwall and all that sort of stuff. But, but yeah, I just shrug of the shoulders for me.
It did sting a little bit. I wasn't like you. I wasn't devastated. I wasn't like losing sleep over it, which now you've reminded me, Chris, ahead of a Sunderland season. Oh yeah, I'd forgotten, but sometimes supporting football's rubbish. we're all excited about this York. We're all excited about this York pre-season, but there'll come a time in the next couple of months where we're all heartbroken over something that's happened to Sunderland. I was disappointed, but not bereft or anything. Like Gav, I didn't particularly like the way the Argentinians went on afterwards, and I was a bit sore over that. But yeah, couple of minutes grumble, and that is it. I think I've said to you already, Chris. I was straight away. My focus was on right. So that's that out the way. How was Sunderland doing in the transfer market? Is Lebris going to be getting any new players to work with in the next couple of weeks? It's always going to be club over country for me. And that's not the case for everyone, and that's their choice. But for me, it's Sunderland first by an absolute country mile.
Yeah. Well, I've just thought, actually, after the York game, of course, there'll be the third and fourth place playoff, as it used to be called. It's now the bronze final or something like that. But I was just going to ask you a question, because honestly, I haven't looked this up. I don't know the answer, because I have no clue right now as I think about it. But who did England play in 2018? I can't remember the game in the third and fourth place playoff. Can you, without looking, Gav, because I can see you looking it up, but can you remember?
That is
Nah.
great.
Does that not just tell you everything?
Yeah. I'm going to Google this to make sure I'm right, but I think it was Belgium. I think it was Belgium.
That rings a bell, actually.
Did we play Belgium twice? Because didn't we play them in the group stage and it was a dead rubber, perhaps?
It was against Belgium. They lost 2-0, but I can't remember. I can't really remember the game. I feel like Lukaku might have scored, possibly. Let's have a look.
Doesn't that not just show
He
that
didn't.
all three of us?
Tell you who scored.
Yeah.
See if you can guess. Thomas Meunier.
Was it?
Never.
Really?
Yes, yeah.
Bloody hell.
So Belgium won 2-0, and Thomas Meunier scored after 4 minutes, apparently.
I genuinely, I wasn't setting that up or anything. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was in St. Petersburg. 64,406 people turned up for it. I know. England got beat 2-0. Must have been a classic.
Well, anyway, I'm going to cut that last bit. Yeah, I set that one up really nicely for you lads to find that one out. But yeah, that'll be a nice segue in a second, because actually, I want to stick with you, Andrew, just about some Sunderland news before we get into a little bit about the York game. We'll cover a few things that have been going on, because we haven't had your take yet on the membership scheme. We did a pod about it, Gav. Got a few of us together, and we talked about how it looks, what we think about it, first thoughts. There's been a lot of reaction to it, Andrew, but I don't know what your thoughts are about this new membership scheme.
It needed to happen. It needed to happen. And unfortunately, whenever you're implementing something along these lines, whenever you're trying to arrange tickets for a fan base where demand outstrips supply, there will always be losers in these situations. I thought fair play to Gav, because Gav admitted that he's perhaps one of the people who is going to lose out on away tickets now. I think the people who've built up the most points for away games, they're safe. They're still going to get their tickets, and deservedly so. But the people like Gav, I think I'm probably in the same boat. The people who've got a few Black Cats points, but not enough to be in the top phase, we're the ones who might now lose out to somebody who's won in a ballot. But you don't want to block off people from getting to away games. It's a really difficult one. I think the club were right to do it. There's one or two teething problems that people have pointed out which need to be looked at. I think we need to look at what happens about multiple memberships in one household, because you could have 3 or 4 people in the same house paying for things like digital programs and additional content. And it's a bit like, well, why are we all paying for things like that? Do you know what I mean?
Andrew, when we were at that meeting, you suggested a family membership, and they said, "Oh, we hadn't thought about that, but it sounds like a good idea," and they never took it away, did they? Well, they said they would, but it wasn't announced in the final sort of announcement of it. But a family membership would have made perfect sense because, yeah, you're right. Why do 4 people from the same household all need a digital program membership, for instance? They don't. Or discounted streaming passes when they're all going to sit and watch the match together, probably. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. But again, maybe these are things they'll refine down the line. You don't know.
Aye. I think, yeah, down the line, these things will get sorted. It was inevitable, and there's a few people have said, I think it was a real shame that having been in the meetings and seen how much research and thought had gone into this, when the news came out, the communication wasn't as good, and I think that prompted a lot of annoyance, and it got people's backs up before the details were actually known. Because I do genuinely believe the club had to do it, and I do think they have tried to come up with a product that works for the majority. Just one or two things maybe could be done differently or explained a little bit differently. But hey, listen, that's easy for me to sit here saying that. I'm not the poor sod who's having to do all of this stuff.
No, but that's the thing. It is easy for you to say. That's the problem. I think it's an easy win for the club to communicate it properly. It's like it's an open goal for them to communicate it properly, and they just kind of missed the target. Like you said on, I think probably a future podcast, that to Ronnie Rosenthal that they kind of ended up doing. But yeah, Gav, I mean, just a last word on the membership scheme. If we just take the membership scheme to one side a little bit, is the thing that's going to make the biggest difference going to be the fact that people have to produce ID for their ticket and they can't pass them on? Because I think one of the biggest things with away games is that people have totted up points because they've got lots and lots, that they end up getting tickets for someone else. So they always get the loyalty points regardless of whether they go or not. And this will mean that the true loyal people, if you just, for want of a better word, who go to every game, will make sure that the loyalty points go to the right place.
I mean, if they manage to enforce that properly, then yeah, I mean, it does make sure that everybody's not misusing tickets and what have you. I think it's more of a thing in Europe, from what we were told. So when you go away to a Europa League game, you've even got to show your passport at the turnstiles with your match ticket to get into games and things like that. We were told a story about Nottingham Forest fans where they were made to drive 3 hours away to a car park. Apparently, it was a nightmare. 3 hours away to a car park to collect the tickets on the day of the game, and had to go all the way back. I think it was when they played Fenerbahce last season.
Okay.
So there's all these, depending on who you're playing and what country it's in and what the kind of protocol is in those places, we're going to have a variety of issues to contend with. But it's good. I honestly think with a lot of this stuff, it's going to be a case of wait and see, because it's the first time it's been implemented. It's the first year. There are going to be teething problems. They're never going to get everything right. I mean, on the subject of the pod we recorded, we did get quite a lot of feedback on that one. I asked for it as well. I said on the pod, email us, message us if you've got any, questions, or you want to offer some feedback on what we've had to say, or if you want to just tell your story. So we did get quite a lot of feedback, a lot of emails and things. And a lot of people, saying, well, we didn't necessarily agree with everything that was said. This is why. But I understand your point on it. And I think that's where we've got to try and find the balance with all of this, because it isn't going to work for everybody perfectly. Like, I don't want to miss out on tickets if I've got the chance to, but at the same time, and you basically said this on that pod, Chris, it's the way it is now. And yeah, there are people going, well, why should we just begrudgingly accept it? And, there is a case for that perhaps, but I do just think it's the way the game's going, and I think it's something that we've got to take on the chin. Hopefully the club, with a year of learning, will come back with an even better product next year. Now, let's say we don't get into Europe again, which there is a possibility of. It's a less attractive thing, because then all of a sudden, what am I basically paying for if I'm not going to get the chance to go to Europe? I'm not paying it. The product doesn't look as attractive in a year's time if we don't have Europe on the end of the stick. So, I think it's going to be an interesting year with it all. We'll see how it goes. I think in the main, it's just the way things are, and yes, people won't like us saying that, but that's my belief. That's my opinion. You know, we had some comments from people saying, "Oh, you're just shilling for the club. You're just, you know," and I'm like, it's nothing to do with that. This is my opinion. This is Chris's opinion. That was Neil's opinion. Ian's opinion. You might have a very different take on what this all means. You know, I did actually offer people the chance to have their say. I put a post out on Twitter and said, reply to this with your thoughts. There must have been 30 replies on that post, and I think there was 1 or 2 possible negative comments. And at the time of recording, there were none. So as I'm recording and we're talking, I was going through them, hoping to hit something that was negative, and there wasn't one. So maybe it is just a case that for a small minority of people, it is a really negative thing. But I think in the main, when you think about 30-odd thousand season ticket holders who all want the chance to go away in Europe, it's a chance, and that's maybe why it's been well received. I understand for exiles, it's not particularly enticing because we had, you know, and Brett probably would have been on the show if he'd been available with us, but he wasn't able to. But Brett, he's an exile. He lives in Milton Keynes. He wants to be able to take his daughters to games. He's basically, and you're in the same boat, Chris, basically paying for the chance to get a ticket to a home game. Whereas in the past, he's just been able to go into general sale and buy them. It's made it a bit more difficult for exiles who want season ticket holders to get tickets, and I totally get that. But as you correctly said on that show, Chris, there's probably not a system out there that works for everybody, and unfortunately, there are going to be people who feel hard done to.
Mm-hmm. The point there about exiles getting tickets and some exiles now having a smaller chance of getting tickets. There'll be other exiles who, for work purposes or family commitments, couldn't be available when general sales went online at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or whatever it was on a designated day. I really feel for people who are actually going to lose out because of this membership. But there will be some people now for whom there being a ballot actually means they've got more chance. Say if you're a teacher, or your job means you can't just clock out at 10 o'clock to go in a queue for general sale tickets. At present, there's no way of getting to those tickets, I don't think. At least if it's a ballot, at least if you can register an interest. And then at the end of the day, when you're next on your phone, you can say, oh, yes, I've been successful. Now it's time for me to pay me ticket. There'll be people in that boat for whom this works slightly better. It's not ideal. No situation's ideal. And this next thing I'm going to say, I myself feel uneasy about more because of my just general life and political leanings. But we had a waiting list apparently of about 15,000 people last season for season tickets. That was just a free list. That was 15,000 people who, if given the chance, were going to give the club money. As a business, I can fully understand why Sunderland AFC look at that and say, are we not just leaving money out on the street? Do we not need to make something of the fact that there's 15,000 people? Do we not need to make something of the fact we've got people around the world wanting to support Sunderland? It's difficult. It's really hard. I don't want anybody to feel excluded. But if I'm running a business, and everybody says Sunderland's support is one of its biggest strengths, well, the club sadly would be daft to not try and capitalise on that.
Yeah, well, it's strange, isn't it, Andrew? Because I'm a bit like you. It goes kind of against what I believe in terms of capitalism. To be honest, I'm not a fan of like people getting. This is in inverted commas, ripped off. I don't think we're being ripped off. I think Neil made a good point about this the other day. He didn't say it on the pod, but it was a good point. You know, if they'd cadged for us season ticket holders, if they'd cadged 20 quid onto the price of the season ticket, but said that'll get you all access to ballots and away tickets and digital programs, you'd be buzzing. Like 20 quid, I'd get all that. It's because it's an add-on and you're being given the chance to opt in or out of it. That there's a bit of a sort of mixed feeling about it, and I actually think generally, and I've got no way of proving this, but I reckon if you polled season ticket holders, the vast majority would be very in favour of this. It's non-season ticket holders who this kind of works against. It's people like yourself, Chris, who don't get to the stadium every week, and it's basically made it harder for those people to get tickets, not just for away games but home games. So I get it. I get everybody's on a different page with this. I think for season card holders, for 20 quid, it's not a bad benefit to be able to. And if you're in the higher points bracket, you're not going to miss out anyways. You're still going to get tickets. And I've got mates who are in the higher points bracket who aren't going to even buy it because they don't need to. Because as far as they're concerned, the only benefit would be tickets for away games, which they're already going to get tickets for. So they don't need it. It's people like us who are seeing the benefits. And then below that, yeah, fair enough. You can see why it pisses people off. But you're right what you said, Andrew, about it being a money-making thing, really, and money left on the table for the club. And there was something else I saw today, which is off the topic a bit, but it made us think. I don't know if you've seen this, but Brentford have released a new home kit, and they've come out and said that it's going to be the home kit for the next 2 years. And there was part of us was like, oh, that's a nice thing, fans don't have to buy new kits each year. But I was thinking, isn't that a stupid business decision? Like, you're leaving money on the table again. People will pay for new kits next season. And it's that, I think with all these things, clubs are weighing up, like, what's the pros and cons of making these decisions. And my overall feeling coming away when we were first shown the proposals for the packages for the membership scheme was that it has to give value for money. And right now, I'm not sure it gives value for money for everybody, but we won't find out until the end of the season whether it was truly valuable. If I'm sat there and going, bloody hell, I got to go to 2 games in Europe, I'll be over the moon if I've paid 20 quid to get that chance. But if I don't, then it's different, isn't it? It's very different. So I think the proof of the pudding will be in the eating with this.
The add-on, the fact that it's an add-on for season card holders, and I definitely take that point, Gab, that with different people are coming at it from different angles, and probably 48 quid for somebody in Chris's position does perhaps feel a little bit steep. We're in a different situation, you and I, Gab. But had they put 20 quid on top of those season card prices for everybody, some people would have said, well, I don't need those things. There's plenty of season card holders who don't need to apply for away tickets because they don't go. So I think the fact that it had to be an opt-in add-on for 20 quid rather than just applying it as a price increase. Because, yeah, there'll be lots of people for whom a membership just isn't necessary. But, yeah, I think that is fair. Maybe exiles are going to be having a different, not just exiles, people who don't have season cards for whatever reason. They're perhaps looking at this differently, and I can understand the concerns.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that some season card holders don't fancy being a mascot for one of the benefits.
I'm very conscious of calling it a season card because it isn't anymore. We don't use a card. I've been doing it recently, and then I realised on the club comms they're back to calling it a ticket. And I was thinking about it. It's like, oh yeah, because it's a digital ticket now. So we're back to. So I keep 1 second I say a season card, the next I say a season ticket. I'm trying to teach myself not to say a season card, but it's hard.
Well, the other thing about that Brentford kit, they just need to make sure it's a good kit. Because imagine if they bring out a crap kit and say we're having this for 2 years. Imagine if we did the thin red and white stripes and went, right, we've got this for 2 years. I think we actually would have protested for a new strip. It says we want to buy a new strip next season. The other thing I was just going to mention, not really a question, but just a comment was, look, as far as I'm concerned, look, it is, we can't get away from the fact it is a cash grab. Now, I'm quite happy if people want to join the likes of the Crystal Palace fans who put up banners and all this sort of stuff about how football's run in general. It is crap. It is crap that people have to shell out this extra bit of money. But from the club's point of view, with all of the regulations and things that they have to follow from the Premier League's point of view, and now from a UEFA point of view as well, the club have to be more organised in who's going and how they allocate tickets and who they allocate tickets to. So I think they came out and said they have to know who's in the ground because the Premier League forces that. So the club have to be more organised, and this is a way to do it, and they found a way to make extra cash out of it, which is just, unfortunately, the way football works. Now, if there was a kind of Crystal Palace style thing, I'd probably kind of support it. I'd be saying, yeah, let's let's tell football that we don't like it and all this sort of stuff. But unfortunately, if we're not doing something like that, it's just the way it's going. And I think we're just going to have to take more and more of this as it goes on. But I'm sure this debate is going to rumble on and never stop until, well, I don't think it's ever going to stop because I don't think the club's ever going to find a perfect solution to it. But we've still got a couple of news bits and pieces before we get on to the York game. But I think we'll stop there for a quick break. So we'll be back very soon. And welcome back to How We're the Podcast. And we're just going through bits and pieces. And of course, we'll get into that York City game as well. But just a couple of pieces to go first, because our first signing of the summer. And Gav, you got a fantastic guest to talk about our new signing. And I'm going to allow you to introduce him, our new signing, because you learned the correct pronunciation. And your French, by the way, on that pod was unbelievable. I mean, I was like,
hey.
I almost crashed the car listening to your French when I listened to that pod. But no, great guest, and he was good in summing up what we've signed, hasn't he?
Yes, and the name you're looking for is Thomas Meunier.
That's
Thomas Meunier. You don't pronounce the S apparently, but I think the English will just go with Thomas. I think probably a little bit easier, isn't it?
We're gonna be shouting Thomas, are we?
Hi, Thomas. Tomma is his name now. Yeah, no, he was a brilliant guest, wasn't he? Baptiste, he did really, really well, and he was also on BBC Radio Newcastle on Thursday night, so people can go on to BBC Sounds, I think, and listen to that little interview that he did with them. But he did a bit more of an expanded chat with me, anyways. And as I said to him when we were chatting, we'll definitely be getting him back on next time we sign somebody from France because he knows his stuff. But yeah, I mean,
next week then schedule him.
Yeah. I virtually said that to him. To be fair, I was like, it'll be a couple of days before you're back on. But no, he really sold him as a player to us. I've got to be honest. Not that I needed to be sold any more than I already was, but the things you worry about when you say you're signing a 34-year-old, are like, is he going to be durable enough? Is he still got it? Are we signing somebody who's coming for the last payday? But if you've watched that interview he did with the club YouTube channel, Thomas Meunier, he just was unbelievable. It's probably the best interview I've ever heard from a new signing. It was class. Absolutely brilliant. So clear on why he's here, who the football club are, what he's going to bring, what his role's going to be. Like, you can tell we really, really put the work in when we sign a player now. And it's not just a case of sitting, back in the day where if you were trying to sign a player, you were just them and the agent at loggerheads over wages and things. It feels like the club have sat down with this guy, really presented themselves to him and give him a defined role, because it comes through in that interview. He just so clear on what he was talking about. And he really, really sold him as a new signing. Even though he's 34, coming up 35, sounds like he keeps himself in brilliant nick. I mean, he was playing starting games at the World Cup, not just playing, but starting games at the World Cup. I think over the course of the season for club and country, he played around 50 games last season, which is good by anybody's standards. And the quality is, you can't question the quality. You don't play for the clubs he's played for and win the trophies he's won if you aren't a good player. And he was part of that golden generation of Belgian players who probably should have won a trophy and didn't. But, for PSG, for Dortmund, for Lille, he's been top player for years and years. And even if we only get one good year out of him, I think it's a very sensible signing, and I'm just excited to see him play now. And it's by the way, some proper right back competition as well for Trey Hume, because really last season his competition with players who are probably more centre halves than right backs, in Nordi Mukele and Lucharel Hertrauder. Whereas with Meunier, you talk about someone who's been at the top of his game for the last decade, and it's just the next stage in Hume's path, I guess. You've got to fend this guy off and prove your quality. So it's all exciting stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And you say they might not have won a trophy, but of course he, as we know now, he scored a cracking goal apparently in the third and fourth place playoff back in 2018. But yeah, Andrew, I mean, turning 35 in September, but as Gav said, in great nick, playing in the World Cup, just weeks earlier. And it seems to fit a pattern with experience at the back, doesn't it?
It does. We prefer established players at the back who know what they're doing and can be relied upon. I'm gutted, Chris, because I was going to do that joke about him saying, "Oh, I don't think many people know this, but I found in my research that he played in that third place bronze medal final, whatever you want to call
Depends
it."
what I cut out on the edit, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. um, uh, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Going back to that last topic about the membership scheme and what have you, I bet the club were chuffed that they were able to announce the signing when they did. Because whenever there's any chew or unhappiness or confusion around the club, soon gets forgotten if we've got a shiny new player to look at. And I think the news was announced the same day that the membership was officially launched, so they were probably happy with that.
Well, burying bad news, is that what you said?
Well, I'm just saying if you're one of the execs who's got a bit of bad news to give out, or you're expecting a bit of flack, doesn't hurt, does it, that you've got a quality player coming in to just remind everybody that this is what we're doing it for. This is what we're trying to do.
So if you give us an extra 20 quid, we'll keep signing players like this, basically.
If that was what the membership scheme was called, the membership scheme was called the transfer kitty. You'd have people queuing up.
The Munye Fund. Give us 20 quid.
Yeah, I honestly think that if anybody from the club's listening, get onto that, because we'll go far with that. He's an interesting profile of defender, because from what I gather, it's his attacking qualities that are his strengths. I've heard a few people say he's created a couple of goals in the World Cup. So that's quite interesting, because I wonder we've already had this conversation about, well, does this mean Mukiele plays in the middle now? And one or two people are against that because they think Mukiele is a good attacking threat from right back. So it's interesting that this lad also can do well in an attacking point of view. I think him being here perhaps means as well that we see Hume's role changing. I think Hume might now be considered a bit like Hertrude was, in that he can now do a couple of different positions. Again, people have assumed that this means Hertrude is not coming. I think Hume now fits that spot of somebody who's versatile and does one or two different jobs depending on what's needed. Another thing I like about this lad, though, is for all he's seemingly quite strong in attack, he's tall, and we did struggle with set pieces.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. Yeah.
You know, particularly you can see it, can't you? You can imagine a scenario where Sunderland are under the cosh, maybe away in Europe at a tough team who were really putting pressure on us, putting us under the pump. You'd love to have two or three big, experienced defenders who are just able to, like, create a wall and kick and head everything out. So it makes a lot of sense for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, and the Munye Transfer Fund, I'm sure it reminds a lot of people out there about the Chris Turner Transfer Fund. To stick money in a bucket and sign Chris Turner. But yeah, the other thing I was just going to mention, not necessarily a question, but just about Munye obviously being 35-year-old and that option of Michele. What Lebris likes doing as well is playing different players for different situations against different players and different teams. So even with Michele, Hume and Munye fit, he might choose a different one of those three to play against different players. But it means he has the option to say, right, well, actually, it's a bit more of a nippy winger. I might want Michele in there, or we want Hume's versatility to move into midfield in this game, so I'm going to put Hume out there, or whatever. So it just gives them options, doesn't it?
You're dead
That's
right,
it.
Chris. Sorry, Gab. You're dead right. And also, not only does Lebris like that, but given the squad quotas and the issues about we're only allowed so many players, it makes perfect sense that those players are versatile. It all works. All of this always points to, we haven't just thrown a dart at a list of players and said, "Oh, it's landed on Mounier. We'll go for him." They've looked at every aspect of it to make sure that he should fit in. None of this is by chance. This is by design, and it's deliberate.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, talking about quarters and all that sort of stuff, one right back in and one right back out might have slid under the radar, Gav, because people might have forgotten about him. But Timothy Pembele has joined the half on a permanent basis. Bizarrely, he joined in September 2023, which shocked me. So he's just short of 3 years at the club, which is bizarre. He's still only 23 years old, made 8 appearances for the club, and of course he's been out on loan. But I think the overriding point is about this. Of course, I don't think it's unexpected, Gav, but I think we'll see a few more of these where somebody leaves and you go, oh, bloody hell, yeah, I forgot he was the Sunderland player.
Yes, there's quite the list, I think, of players to go. Largely forgettable Sunderland career from Timothy Pembele. I don't think he ever really fitted what we needed. You could understand why he was signed, because I remember when he signed being really excited, because he'd played in Paris Saint-Germain's first team before he picked up a really bad injury. So he'd been playing senior football for them, probably at the same time Thomas Meunier was there, I would imagine. So, probably competing with him in the squad. I know he'd had a few games in the Champions League and stuff. So he was obviously really well fancied, but that was before he had a bad injury. And I think by the time he came to Sunderland, he'd maybe just lost his way a bit. If he didn't stand out in training, he wasn't going to get in ahead of Trey Hume. We know that for a fact. And that's basically what happened. And it seemed, didn't it, that was that sort of season under Beale, really, where it was poor. And there was a contingent of young French lads at the club. And we'd heard sort of rumours about the fact they were kind of off in their own little camp away from the rest of the club and the rest of the squad. And he was one of them. And yeah, it just didn't work out for the lad. Ultimately, he spent you say 3 years at the club, but he spent a bit of that time out on loan and then a bit of that time not even playing for the 21s. I don't think. I think he was kind of just training away from the core group of players. He wasn't fancied, but he was a punt, wasn't he? He was a free agent, basically. He played very little football for us. And if we're being honest, he should have been allowed to go on a free last year. I would have just let him go then, but yeah, he's gone. He'll be largely forgettable. I imagine he'll crop up on quizzes in 10, 15 years' time and you'll be like, freaking hell, I forgot about him. Yeah, didn't really do much. The only real memory I've got of him, he came on away at Rotherham when I was there and did okay. I think we drew 1-1, Jack Clark scored, and he changed the game a bit when he came on, gave her a bit of width. Other than that, I can't even really remember him playing for us, if I'm honest.
Leeds, I think, was probably his biggest moment for me when he played it away at Leeds. He was all right as well against Leeds. I thought he did okay.
Yeah, but he's one of a group, isn't he? I mean, you mentioned there we've got probably a bunch of them that need to go, and I would put him in the same category as Ahmed Abdullahi, Jensen Seelt, Adji Elise, Himia, Anthony Patterson, Abdullah Barr, Alan Brown, Leo Hjelde, Arthur Masuaku. These players have got to get clubs this summer. And when I've just read you've got to, add to that list Adingra Mundal. We've probably got there like 10, 11, 12 players who we've got to move on. So we've got quite a lot of work to do to get these lads out the door,
Did you say Himia in that list?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
Sorry, Andrew.
I'm surprised you want rid of Himia, you two. I mean, we're going to be talking about pre-season. We're expecting big things from Himia this summer, aren't we?
Normally he has that one good game at the start of pre-season where everyone's like, get him in the team. But looking at his Instagram, I don't even think he's training with the club, because he's been putting photos and videos on his Instagram of him training alone. Like, looking a bit sweaty, like he's really working hard. And yeah, he had a canny loan last season, but he didn't play much by the looks of it. He was largely like a sub striker. I think was it Moriense in Portugal. Well, I remember at the time he signed for them, they were third in the league. They were like punching above their weight, just below Porto and Sporting, I think. And that's a good move for him. But then he barely played. I'm just looking at it now. He got 3 goals in 21 games for them. He's not going to make it here. He needs to go. He just needs to be allowed to leave. But there's a big old list of them, and thankfully Pembele is this. Well, I guess Rusyn's gone too. Alexic. We just need to let these lads go and play somewhere, because it's pointless keeping them around. They're not going to make it here.
Well,
go on, Andrew.
Sorry, Chris. I was just going to say, though, again, going back to the Mounier signing, it was all properly thought out. It hasn't just happened on a whim. But we have brought somebody in whose job it is to find clubs for players like that, to get rid of some of these players and to get suitable loans for the next group of prospects who are going to fill those gaps when those players move on. So Sunderland are aware that there's a little bunch of players there who are not going to play any minutes for us, and that they've tried to do something to deal with that, which means Gasolfi can spend his time looking at bringing players in. So how many times at the moment do we have these discussions where there's an issue or there's something we could be better at, but at least the club are trying to fix it?
Yeah. I think Amir is still contracted till 2028 as well. So he's still got a couple of years to run on his contract. Wasn't he, I think I vaguely remember he was on loan. Wasn't it Juventus under 11s or something like that? He was on loan. Something like
Juventus Next Gen, they're called.
Yeah, well, yeah, something like that. Same thing. And I'm sure actually Roy Keane the other day put that into Room 101 or something like that. Did a little Room 101 on there, and he put that, players in pre-season doing videos of themselves, doing training on their own, sweating and all that sort of stuff. It's like, what you videoing it, showing people for? Just crack on with it and get fit. For God's sake, bloody hell. Wasting time videoing yourself being sweaty. But anyway, let's get into pre-season. Andrew, let's start with you generally about pre-season, because I think you both touched on it at the beginning, but I did look at the last couple of years because they've been so successful. Last summer, we'll go back there, we won 2 out of the 8 games we had last summer. Season before, in our promotion season, we won 3 out of 7, I think it was. Just goes to show, doesn't it? Look, Gav said it right up front about fitness and all that sort of stuff and preparation and, getting, your drills into how you're going to set up and all that. And those numbers just go to show we've had 2 fantastic seasons, but, pre-seasons we were getting beat and won 2 out of 8 last summer.
Yeah, the only result that matters will be the Ipswich game, and the games that come after that. I'll say this now. I'll go on record. If we lose every single pre-season game, but Lebris is happy with what he's got from it, he's seen the things he needs to see, the players have done the things they need to do, I'll not give one jot. We've got Jose Font coming in, so a new coach coming in, so he's going to want to get a feel for the place. I actually wondered if he'd played with Mounier at Lille, but I think they missed each other by about a year or so. But yeah, there's Lebris has got the squad to work through, and he's got to make his connections and all of his favourite buzzword with Fonte and the coaches. As long as we get to August and everybody's settled, it does not matter. And yet, if that means we lose to York, so be it. We'll live.
Yeah. And this first one, Gav, all the World Cup players are still on their hulls having a break after a hard World Cup. And I saw it on the club website a couple of times, actually, a couple of articles where it says the rest of the players have been, and I quote off the site, building fitness through a program of physical testing, gym work and on-pitch sessions, with Saturday's fixture providing the first opportunity to put those preparations into practice. And this one just feels like it's almost the pre-season for the pre-season when everything really gets going in the States. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I suppose a bit like when we normally play Shields and Gateshead in one day. That's another thing to note, by the way. The club are also playing a friendly at South Shields today.
I didn't know that.
But they've called it a Sunderland 11. My presumption is it's going to be mainly under 18s players because obviously, as I'm about to get on to, the squad's thin. So the first team squad, that is. So you're going to have a lot of lads who are probably on the cusp of being in the 21s to the first team, making up the numbers in this York squad, and then the rest being with the new head of football programming or whatever he's called, Tom Craddock, is it? He's basically just taken over from Graham Murty. So I would imagine it's not going to be a split squad. It's going to be very much a first team select against York, and then a sort of a younger team playing against South Shields. But yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, it's the first time the lads can put their boots on properly and have a kickabout against another team. Going off the footage the club have put out of pre-season, the photographs on the club website of them in training, playing training games, and kind of what we've built up ourselves, just seeing bits and pieces around social media, I think this is going to probably be the squad, or the bulk of the squad. So I'll quickly read it out. I've got Melker Elborg, Anthony Patterson, and Simon Moore as the goalkeepers, unless, of course, Moore plays at South Shields, which is possible. I would imagine the club will travel with 3 keepers, but they'll maybe take a young'un. I don't know. Might make more sense to let Moore play with the young'uns, but we'll see. Defenders, I've got Hume, Hjelde, Sealt, is it Jaden Jones or Jensen Jones? I can never remember which one it's which. Is it Jensen?
Jensen is
the right back.
the defender. Yeah, Jaden is the...
Yeah, so I've seen him on some of the photos. So we've got Jensen Jones, Dan Ballard, Nordi Mukele, Luke O'Nien, and Renildo. Midfield is thin, very, very thin. We've got Enzo Lefay, Chris Rigg, and Alan Brown are the only midfield players. Although you could see a scenario where Hume plays in midfield to make sure everybody gets equal game time, but we'll see. Wingers, we've got Romain Mundel, Jocelyn Tarby, and Timur Tutierov. And in terms of forwards, again, very light. We've got Trey Ogunsui, who was out on loan last season at, I want to say, Falkirk and Shrewsbury. So he had a couple of loans last season. And Finn Gerrigussian, who just signed a new contract over the summer. Hopefully he'll be in amongst there. But again, no senior forwards in the team and very thin in terms of wingers. But it's not about strength, is it? It's about just putting a team out and everyone getting opportunities. I think back to the games we've played over recent years, and the club tend to basically give everyone an hour if they can. So I would imagine that's what will happen here. There'll be basically either 2 teams get 45 minutes each, or a team gets a stronger team will get 60 minutes, and then they'll rotate players out. But again, we're just guessing because we're not sure who's available. The ones I was kind of on the fence about were Ballard and who else? Mundel, because they both had injuries at the end of last season. So I was like, are they going to actually play? But if you look at the photographs the club have put out, both of them have been playing in training games with everybody else. So it's not like they're being held off or given a bit more time. They're actually in full preseason training. So, I mean, if he's going to pick a strong team, I mean, I'm thinking probably Elborg in goal, Hume, I think, might play in midfield to allow for rotation, because then you've got Renildo, O'Nien, Mukele, and Ballard. You'd probably say Nordi at right back, I would imagine. That leaves you with Hjelde, Sealt, and Jones to come on at some point. The midfield 3 kind of picks itself. I think Lefay, Rigg, and Brown, because they're the only 3 senior players, and that hopefully means we'll have a couple of young'uns in the squad. Wingers, again, probably Mundel and Tarby either side. Pick which one plays on the right, I'm not sure. And then Treog and Suey up front, I would imagine. So, yeah, it's still a fairly strong team. When you consider we've had 12 players, I mean, you can probably discount Gertruda and that now, because he's went back to his parent club. But 11 players missing, basically. That's a canny strong squad. What have I named there? Like 19 players? So we've still got numbers, and I know a lot of them lads will move on and stuff, but it's still relatively strong, and we're gonna get to see Enzo again. That's all I'm bothered about. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, right. You're bothered about a few beers before and after. Never mind watching Enzo. But yeah, Andrew, I mean, just listening to all those players Gav saying is available and potential kind of lineup there. I mean, we talked about Habiga, ridiculously a few years back when it was we were watching the likes of him in pre-season, and then there was one where Jewson Bennett. There was one summer where we were watching him saying, is it maybe his time and all this? Is there anyone like that, Ogunsui or Mundel or someone like that, who you're actually thinking, actually it'd be interesting to see him in action in pre-season, whether he's looking sharp or whether it's a young player getting an opportunity and coming through and forcing his way into the reckoning to get a bit more games in pre-season? Is there anyone like that, do you think?
I think there are. I think there's a handful of players, Chris, who are wanting to make the next step, for want of a better phrase. I think Tarby, we heard that he did really well when he was on international duty over the summer. His first few months at the club were impacted by injury, so I think he's going to want to really put a marker down. Elborg, I'm really keen to see what happens with him, because he's had a couple of Premier League games. I didn't mind him. couple of people weren't as convinced. I could see why there'd be question marks over him. He's still very inexperienced in terms of senior football. But if we go back to quotas, Chris, we've heard a few people saying that it might actually be the case that if Patterson doesn't go, Patterson gets registered for the Europa League, because then that gives us a spot for another foreign player, like an outfield player. Whereas if you give it to Elborg, you're almost wasting a spot. So I want to see how Elborg does in pre-season, and is he better than Patterson? Is he at a point where he needs to be named in that Europa League squad? The other one that I'm not sure about is Jensen Seelt, because he wasn't horrific in those minutes he got in the Premier League at the start of last season, I don't think. There was a couple of clubs really keen to bring him in on loan. Then when he went on loan, I know he got injured, but I think prior to his injury, he'd been getting regular games in the Bundesliga. Is there a situation where he could have forced himself, not necessarily to be starting games, but to be in the reckoning, and could he be used in cup games? We assume he's going to be sold on, but if he's progressed, it might not be one where we need to force him out the door. So I'd like to see him.
It's difficult with Seelt, isn't it? Sorry, Andrew. It's difficult with Seelt because he genuinely didn't play much. I think if he'd gone there and played 30-odd games in the Bundesliga and had done well, we might be having I think the club are so ruthless now, though. It's like Elise, it's like Mundell. It's like you cannot stay fit. You haven't been able to stay fit since you come here. But then stranger things have happened because he had a really bad injury and last pre-season did well and ended up starting the first game of the season. So, stranger things have happened. There might be somebody who, you mentioned Patterson there. I was going to come in on it because you're making us think there, like, if the club can't get money for him, which is a possibility because it's not loads of money floating around the Championship, and it's going to take 8 to 10 million to buy Patterson, isn't it? Then they might just go, we're going to keep you and we're going to loan Elborg out. And I wouldn't be against that, me. I think that's not a bad idea because he's certainly one for the future, Elborg, but he probably needs to be playing games. And with Patterson, I'm kind of, it sounds bad this, but I'm kind of over him. Like, we replaced him well. He's been out on loan elsewhere. I think it's clear to see he's not going to be Sunderland's number one at any point soon. So it wouldn't harm the football club to keep Patterson around, let Elborg go out on loan and just see how things go. So like that's interesting. Let's see who starts the game tomorrow. Or today, sorry. I've just dated this podcast. Let's see who starts, because if Patterson starts the game, it's an indicator of who's maybe higher up the pecking order. I might be wrong in saying that, but you never know.
Yeah, that one's for you, Ant. I'm sure he's laughing at that.
I love pulling that up on that.
Yeah, actually, I was just thinking Jensen Seelt, he's the type, because he can't play a full season, and he's pretty much injury prone, really, to want of a better term, but he's the type of signing we made when we started out on this journey in League One, and then that first season in the Championship, where we bought these players who were really cracking players, but couldn't get a break injury-wise, and we tried to give them that fresh start. I think he's just one of those that needs a fresh start, I think. And, once he gets a run, he could well get going. Just quickly, though, York City are the opponent. Zach Johnson has signed there this summer. Loads of links between Sunderland and York, Andrew, over the years. But they're just coming off the back of a fantastic season at 108 points. Won the National League. Rochdale came second with 106 points, which is absolutely ridiculous. They lost 4 in 46 league games last season. But I remember back in the day coming back from the match when I was a young'un, sticking Look North on, and it had all the reports from all the games, and it would obviously do the big three in the northeast, but then it would do Darlington, it would do Hartlepool, Carlisle, and it would always be a match report with York in there in the lower leagues. And it's good to have them back in the Football League, isn't it? First time since 2015-16, actually, isn't it?
It is nice having them back. I think it was a big talking point towards the end of the season, that race between them and Rochdale. And didn't it all get decided in deep into added time at Rochdale? York scored a scrambled goal, and there was just mad scenes.
Or did they score? That's the controversy. Did it cross the
Well,
line?
yeah.
You know, no goal line technology. It didn't look like it crossed line to me.
There was a
Well,
Russian linesman.
I mean, I'm not imagining we're getting many Rochdale fans listening to this, so hopefully I've not upset anybody with that. But yeah, they were a big story. They've got a lot of positivity about them. Like you say, Chris, there's a bit of a link there with all of the old names, and they're not quite northeastern, but they're still fairly local. So they're probably, I'd probably say they're a club I've got like a touch of fondness for. So yeah, it's a good game from that point of view. They're going to want to be getting set up for the return to the Football League, so they're going to want to get plenty from the game. I spotted as well last weekend they beat Barnsley at home. Barnsley must be League One, so
Yeah.
it suggests that they're not that they're going to give us a test. It's not just going to be a walk.
Well, they're ahead of us, Andrew. They're ahead of us in the prep, which I think's good.
Yeah.
Like didn't we do this last year when we played Hearts? Hearts had already played like 4 competitive games in the Scottish Cup before we played them, and it meant that when we came to face them, they were tough, and we got battered, and people were worrying, missing the context of actually this team are ahead of us in the preparations for pre-season. You know, so it happens sometimes where the scheduling works out, and I think that's a good thing. I'd rather play a team who've already had a couple of games or whatever, maybe started pre-season a week or two before, because what that means is it's going to be a little bit tougher for us, and it's got to be tough. You know, we're trying to get fit for a big season in the Premier League.
Exactly, and look at the other games we've got lined up, Gav. There's no like pub teams or anything like that. We're playing against teams who are the same level as us, or teams who have got European campaigns to come to. And like I said earlier, there's reasons for that. That just hasn't happened by chance. The club will have looked at York's schedule and thought, yeah, they're going to give us the test we need. These other clubs are going to be at a level where this is actual football the lads are playing. It's not just going to be a stroll. So, yeah, brilliant. That's good. You're going to get much more from this playing against York, who, as you say, are further down the line, than if we were just playing, I don't know, with the greatest of respect, a Northern League side or something like that. So,
Right.
the club have looked at this and have put together a difficult program. And again, that's another reason why we don't need to panic if we're not beating teams 3 or 4-0 in pre-season, because it's not as straightforward as that, Gav.
Yeah, I don't worry about things like that at all. I just, I want to see us win. I want to see us score loads of goals. Nobody likes to see us get beat. I've been at pre-season games when we've lost. I remember going to Gateshead. It was Job's first game for us after we'd just been to watch us at Shields. And the Shields game was dead entertaining. I think it was like 4-3 to Sunderland or something in the end. It was back and forth. Crowd were on the pitch, like right on top of the pitch, and the atmosphere was good. Then you went to Gateshead, it was crap atmosphere. It started raining, there's no roof on the away end. And we were like at half time, oh well, let's go to the pub. It's crap this. So I've been to pre-season games where you get beat and it is crap. But like the most important thing with any pre-season game is, and it's such a cliche, it's someone's actually put this on Twitter and tagged us in it. It's a video of managers saying minutes in the legs, but that's literally what it is. It's just minutes in the legs. The lads have got to get themselves fit for a big season, as I said before. And the only way you do that is by playing hyper competitive games where it's a bit warm and sticky, and you're getting the rust that you've built up out of your legs that you know from your couple of weeks in Dubai or whatever you've had. You know, like the players, they need it. That's the thing. And I'm actually really looking forward to seeing Zach Johnson on the other side. He's a player who, in another world, Andrew, would have probably played first team football for Sunderland. If we'd still been in League One or the Championship, there's a world in which he might have actually kicked a ball in red and white in competitive games. And I want to see him do well. I want to see all the lads that come through the academy do well. So hopefully he does well with York.
Of course, York were really pleased to get him back after his loan last season. He did really well there. They loved him. I think he had other options. So there's no reason why he can't now have a good career. Chris and I are both Monk Wearmouth school lads. So just from that point of view, we'll be pleased to see Zach Johnson
I
do
didn't
well.
know that.
Aye, yeah.
I did not know that.
Aye. So, yeah. So, there's a reason for you and me to keep half an eye on him, mate. But I take the point, Gav. It'll be nice if he plays well in the game and has a good season at York.
As long as we win, of course. We don't want to see him do too well.
What, and have us having to make a bid at full time to the York staff saying, "Oh, we're like the luckiest central defender there."
Aye.
There's lots of positives that could come from this. It should be a nice day. There's no reason for anybody to go home upset or thinking it's been a waste.
Okay, well, go on, Gav.
I was just going to say, I think the away end will be lively because most people, me included, will be probably in York by 10 o'clock in the morning. So by the time the match rolls around, you're looking at people who've probably had a couple of cans on the train, have then been in the pub for 4 or 5 hours, and maybe the football scene's a bit of a hindrance. But once you're in the ground, you don't mind it too much. The only thing I'm worried about is how bloody far away it is from the centre of York. I really want to go to the game, and I am going to go to the game. But there's part of us is thinking, if the pubs are like, if I'm enjoying the pub too much, we might sack it off. But I can't because I've committed to doing a pubcast after as well. Yeah. So we're going to be back with a match pubcast as well.
Yeah, well, watch this space. The pubcast could be Gav just talking about anything but football because he didn't go to the game. We'd like talking about what he should buy for his next pint or what his next flavour of crisp should be at the bar or something like that.
Yeah.
But and actually I was going to say about the weather, if the sun is belting down. I remember, I don't know what the new stadium's like because Gav's just informed there is one. But I remember Bootham Crescent, it was an uncovered little terrace, tiny little terrace behind the goal. And if the sun was belting down, you were getting absolutely scorched. So I don't know whether
I'm going there. I think I went there. We played them in the cup in, I want to say, 98.
Gav, me and you must have been standing right next to each other. Didn't even know each other. And Andrew, us three.
Well, we were all three of us were there. There we go.
Aye. I went to pizza.
I'm just looking at it now.
Hand actually.
I'm just looking at it now. Tuesday, 18th of August, 1998.
How do I remember that I went to Pizza Hut before I went to the York game? I can't remember.
But you can't even remember what you did an hour ago.
No, like the kids say, I need this for next week, and it completely goes out my head. But I remember York away in 1998. And where I went.
Here's a bit of trivia for you. One former Sunderland player was on the York starting 11 that day.
Oh, we went through this a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, Andrew?
Okay.
Steve Agnew, wasn't it?
Yes, Steve Agnew. Yeah. So it was a competitive game, but from what I can see, I can't remember. I was too young. 3 goals in the last 25 minutes. But yeah. Debuts for Paul Thirlwell, Jerry Harrison, Mark Maley.
Yeah,
it was a massive day for them.
Neil Wainwright made his debut at their place in the game. At Bootham Crescent.
Sorry, I'm looking at the one in the Stadium of Light. I'm looking at the wrong one.
Aye. Yeah, because it was Diccio scored, I think.
Yeah, he scored 2.
So sorry, we played them in the Cup in August of 98, and then we must play them again a year later, did we?
No, it was the second leg, because it was the first round, so it was 2 legs.
Of course, man. Yeah.
We beat them 4-1 on aggregate.
There we go. Right. Yes. So,
this is what
I was at that game.
Going to be like tomorrow,
And I forgot to say.
Just talking all sorts because he's been enjoying a few.
It is interesting. I only played them 8 times in competitive games since I've been on this earth, so not that many in far too long a time. But anyway, just to see us out, last one, gents. If you're looking for 2 things from this game, first pre-season game, if you're looking for 2 things, what are we looking for from this game?
Well, cliche, but nobody gets hurt. That's one thing. I don't want to see any injuries. I just hope everyone gets through it unscathed. 2, I want to see a worldie from Enzo Lafay. That's what I want to see. I want it to be fun. I think pre-season games often aren't fun, and there should be more fun occasionally, especially with so many of us are going to turn out for this. Because we initially sold out the allocation, then they put more tickets on sale. So I've got a feeling there's going to be more Sunderland fans than there are York in the stadium. And it's the first game of football Sunderland have played since that day against Chelsea. So I'm just hoping it's a bit of fun for everybody, and the atmosphere is good and the spirits are high. And yeah, we come away feeling optimistic for the future.
The spirits are going to disappear quite quickly
Yeah.
down people's necks, I think. Would a Panenka do for Le Fair?
No, we're not allowed to do that ever again. We're banned them.
Okay, fair enough. Andrew, 2 things you're looking for from this York game?
Well, when Gav says he hopes nobody gets hurt, I'm the same, but I just mean for all these lads who are going to be having a day. I think there's going to be some sorry states on the trains home.
I hope I don't fall asleep on the train and end up in Edinburgh, because that's a possibility. Me train back's not till bloody 10:15 at night.
You know what you're like, falling asleep, I know.
I know.
I know where Gab's coming from in that I just want to see Enzo Lefebvre again.
He's a dream board, isn't he?
God, he is, isn't he? Yeah. And he's now going to be in, I'm assuming he's going to be in that beautiful Elvis kit. So that's something I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to actually seeing the Elvis kit in action. Beyond that, yeah, just a nice day at the footy. If we get a couple of worldies, happy days. Apparently, I don't remember this, we played them in pre-season under Lee Johnson, and it was I had to look at StatCat. It was a draw. It was that weird summer where crowds were just being allowed back. Whereas
I
this,
genuinely don't even remember us playing that game.
well, this time it's entirely different. I'm assuming it was like restricted attendance or something. Whereas this one, it's just going to be a nice afternoon, no headaches, no dramas, have a bit of fun. And if we see a couple of Sunderland goals and a win, all the better.
Yeah, well, I hope everybody who goes enjoys it. I will be thinking of you all as I'm not going.
You're not bothered at all, are you?
I'll be looking at that sunshine thinking, bloody hell, kind of go down very nice in York right now. But anyway, I hope it's a good day, gents, and I hope you enjoy it. Have a cracking time. And I'm not going to even say out about the football, but I'm sure we'll have a good reaction from you, Gav, after the game in the pubcast, and you'll be in good spirits after that.
Planning to meet up with James and Ian, hopefully, and whoever else wants to cadge on somewhere in York, because apparently there's no pubs around the ground, so we're going to have to arrange to meet somewhere in the town. But yeah, it'll be out at some point on Saturday night.
I think the only problem with York, as usual, is getting more than 2 of you in any one pub at any one time. That's the only issue there. But anyway, everyone have a good time, have a cracking time, Gav, Andrew, and thanks very much for your time, gentlemen. Fantastic as always, and thanks again, everyone, for listening. Don't forget, we'll have loads more on the Roker Report website with reaction to this game as well as everything else Sunderland related, which we've talked about a little bit today. You'll find loads on our daily podcast as well. We've got Gav discussing our French with our French counterpart, I suppose. And Gav impressed us by giving the listeners some French tongue. We went back to the archives with Ricky Sprazier. We've had Rob Mason on this week as well. We had a Sunderland World Cup review that Gav brilliantly did. It was fantastic to listen to that as well. We also had a Roker Rewind going back to a tour of the United States back in 1980. So if anyone wants to build up to this one, have a listen to that. We also had Nick Barnes as well, talking about all the latest as well. And all that was just in the last week on How We're the Podcast, which is a bit nuts in a Gav.
Well, we cram a lot in, don't we? We're bloody no football to talk about until today. And that's what we've done this week. I mean, yes, what's it going to be like when we're in Europe? It's going to be like 4 pods a day or something, isn't it? People are going to be sick of hearing us.
Well,
already.
I was going to say, I was going to just throw that out there. But
thankfully, the listening figures have been quite good over the summer, so people aren't quite tired of us yet.
Yeah, it's consistent for now. Let's see how it goes. 4 pods a day might go over the limit. But anyway, I'm going to leave everyone to digest all that information and check it all out. But from us, bye for now.